ang the note she couldn't hold. I make pianos tell the truth. Not to audiences. Any decent pianist can fake conviction for a few minutes, but to themselves. A well-tuned instrument stops lying about what it is capable of. I travel with a battered tool roll and a case of felt wedges, and I spend my days coaxing stubborn strings into agreement. People call me when they want a living room to sound expensive, or when a conservatory complains that the D above middle C is sulking again. I like my work because it is intimate without being personal. You listen, you correct, you leave. Alina used to say she married my ears. You hear what I mean before I say it, she'd tease, and then test me by humming an idea for a dance phrase while still toweling her hair. She's a choreographer, gallery installations, site-specific pieces, anything that convinces donors their wallets have muscles. We met when I was tuning a Steinway in a warehouse some curator had weaponized into a venue. Her laugh reached me first. Then she did, sliding between techs like she had backstage immunity, taking my hand like it was part of the plan. We built a life out of odd hours and shared breakfasts. The only calendar squares we worshipped were Sundays and the rare Tuesday that felt like Sunday by accident. We were good. We were good until I found her hairpin in a piano that didn't live in our house. The day started like any other, a call from a property manager whose emails smell like leather. Private penthouse, he said. New hotel on the river. Fazioli F278. We need it perfect by 7. Faziolis are a particular arrogance disguised as grace, every edge polished, every resonance deliberate. I said yes and packed the tools I use when clients think their money can be tuned into the instrument. Penthouse elevators pretend to be thoughtful. They pause for you. They hush. The new hotel's top floor opened into a room designed by someone who hates fingerprints. The piano sat in the corner like a promise that knew it would be kept. I lifted the fallboard, checked the action, and started the ritual. A4 first, then octaves, then fifths, the lattice of intervals that maps a world. Around the second temperament octave, I heard it, a faint, sympathetic buzz when I leaned into the left hand around low F. Buzzes have dialects. Some are loose liars or rebellious screws. Some are a wineglass on a shelf pretending it doesn't vibrate with the world. This was intimate new. I traced it note by note until I found the culprit, a sliver of something caught between the strings, just above the duplex scale. I reached in with tweezers and plucked it free. A hairpin. Gold, simple, a tiny chip of enamel at one end where it should have been smooth. Alina had a twin to that chip because the day we moved apartments, she caught the pin on my sweater and made me stand still while she laughed and kissed the mark better. I turned the pin in my fingers. It was hers or it was the same as hers, which is the kind of distinction you make when you're not ready to name the thing you're thinking. Everything okay? The property manager asked from behind me, voice careful in a room designed to be overheard. Loose souvenir in the strings, I said. Your piano was chewing jewelry. He chuckled and left me to it. I slipped the hairpin into my pocket and tuned until the instrument surrendered its last complaint. The Fazioli bloomed, arrogant and sincere. I could have gone home then. I could have put the pin in our dish by the door, made a joke about gravity and rich people, and waited for the moment Alina said, "Oh God, I thought I lost that," and for my chest to unclench like a fist that remembered how to be a hand. But while I was closing the fallboard, a sheaf of music on the stand slid a little and revealed a piece of paper that didn't belong to the Chopin nocturnes beneath. It was folded once, and my name sat on the outside in Alina's clean, impatient handwriting. For a second the world gave me a pass. It said that could be anything. A shopping list, a reminder to call the dentist. I opened it. Hide the hairpin for me. Monday, balcony. My mouth did something ugly. The paper trembled in my fingers. I am a man who can isolate a rogue resonance in a building full of people and fix it without breaking the conversation. I am not a man who hides well while reading a sentence that rearranges his ribs. I put the note back where I found it. I finished my report with the tempo of a professional. I said to the manager, "She's perfect," and let him think I meant the piano. On the way down, the elevator's mirrored walls threw me my own face from too many angles. I tried to practice what I would say. I tried to talk myself out of saying anything. At street level, the city was a wet chemistry of late afternoon light. I called Elena. "You busy?" I asked. "Always," she said, then softened. "But not for you, what's up?" "I found your hairpin," I said. A beat, then feigned lightness. Did it finally make its own way home? "It was in a Fazioli," I said. Another beat, "Which one?" "The one on the river," I said, "top floor." I heard the air change on her end. "Leo," she said, and my name had a bruise on it. "Are you coming home after rehearsal?" I said. "Or should I meet you at the hotel balcony the note mentioned?" Silence then. "Let's not do this on the phone." "Let's not do this at all," I said, and surprised myself with how calm it sounded. We met in our kitchen because it's where we have always told the truth. It holds the table that has witnessed more decisions than any room in the city, small ones about groceries and large ones about where to put our lives. Elena arrived with a face that belonged to a person who still believed in herself, and for a selfish second I hated that nothing about her looked ruined. "I was going to tell you," she said, setting her bag down like a truce, "but I was also going to not tell you." "Both is a word," I said. "Some days it's a weapon." She breathed. Her shoulders dropped half an inch. "He's a violinist," she said. "Dorian. He's working with me on a piece for the museum. We rehearsed late. We told ourselves it was work, and then we told ourselves it was what comes after work when you're too tired to be good." "On a balcony," I said. "Once," she said. "And it was wind and hands and a mistake I wanted to keep until I didn't. Then I hid the hairpin because I didn't want it to be proof. I wanted it to be something I could throw away later and pretend it was all in one place." "The note," I said. "I thought if you found it," she said, "you wouldn't have to hear me confess in my sad, brave voice. You'd have the thing and skip the theater." "You choreographed my discovery," I said. "You set the light and the prop and hoped my blocking would be clean." She winced because metaphors are cheaper when they're accurate. "I'm sorry," she said, not as performance but like a person applying pressure to a wound. "I know what I did. I know the hour and the breath and the sound I made. I know it wasn't a symptom, it was a choice." The worst part was that I believed her. The second worst part was that belief couldn't replace the sound of the hairpin scraping against steel. "How long?" I asked, and my voice didn't crack. 4 weeks, she said. 3 rehearsals that weren't one balcony. No words like affair, just hunger with an alibi. "Do you love him?" I said, and loathed myself for using the line that makes decent people into actors. "I love music," she said. "He reminded me of a version of me that doesn't have to explain herself. That's not love. That's nostalgia dressed up as permission." I laughed and the laugh hurt my throat, and me. "You're the person who hears when my ankle lies to me," she said. "Who knows the difference between me being quiet and me being gone? I forgot to ask you for that. I forgot to tell you I missed it. I made a mess to make a point, and then the mess became the point." We were quiet long enough for the refrigerator to hum the fifth partial of B-flat. I stared at her, and saw the woman I married and the woman on the balcony, and realized they were the same. "What happens now?" I said. "We end it," she said. I already did. I told him today. The note was from last week. I couldn't bring myself to throw it away, and then I couldn't bring myself to deliver it. I put it where you would find it because I am a coward who wants to be honest. And us. We try, she said. Not with vows piled on vows, with stupid, boring scaffolding, with no balcony scenes, with me telling you when I'm lonely before I go teach my loneliness to play violin. I went to the sink and turned the tap on and off because your hands need something to do when the part of you that fixes things knows it can't fix this now. He'll be at the museum, I said. He'll be near you. I'll be near me, she said. You can watch me be. We did not make up with sex. We put our bodies in the same bed and kept them on the same page without asking them to write a new chapter unsupervised. Her leg found its place between mine, and we slept like people at the edge of a cliff who agreed not to jump without warning. The next day, I tuned a school's neglected upright and almost cried when a third grader found middle C like a door he could open. Then I went to the museum because punishment and proof sometimes wear the same coat. The rehearsal hall was a white cube that smelled like gaffer's tape and want. Alina stood at the center with dancers scattered like punctuation around her. Dorian was there with his violin tucked under his jaw, the bow hovering as if even gravity was a request. They began. The piece was about breath and restraint, or maybe I was just assigning lesson plans to movement because I needed the world to make a point in my language. Dorian's playing was the kind of good that makes other people generous. Alina moved like a person translating weather. When they finished, he lowered his instrument and looked at her the way light looks at glass. Then he saw me and did not flinch. "Leo," he said, after Alina waved him over with the same calm she uses on donors. "I would like to say the kind of sorry that doesn't ask you to absolve me." "I would like to hear a quiet room," I said, "but this will do." He nodded. "I won't be at the balcony," he said, and managed not to make it a plea. "You'll be where the work is," I said, "and you will not make the work a nested set of alibis." Alina's hand found my wrist with the precision of habit. My pulse agreed to behave. "We're not quitting the piece," she said to me, a question disguised as a statement. "I'd hate the art to suffer," I said, and we all heard the humor, bruised but breathing. We built from there. Tiny rules that felt absurd to write down until they saved the day. No rehearsals that end on rooftops. Phones face up in the kitchen we used to tell the truth. One night a week for nothing and everything. We saw a counselor who asked better questions than I did. We argued like people who would rather be wrong together than right alone. The erotic returned in a different key, not triumph, not apology, but language. Sometimes we found each other in the morning, soft and hushed. Sometimes at night, greedy and clumsy, knocking into furniture and laughing. We did not use our bodies to erase. We used them to remember. A month later, the hotel called me back because the Fazioli had gone sharp in the August heat. I rode the elevator with my tools like a man returning to a crime scene that had been repainted. The balcony door was closed. The river pretended contentment. The hairpin was not in my pocket anymore. It lived again in Alina's hair, and I had learned to touch it like a relic that had earned its place. While I tuned, the property manager hovered. "Funny thing about pianos," he said, unasked. "They keep secrets if you treat them nice." "Only until someone listens," I said. The low F purred in tune. The buzz didn't return. On my way out, I stopped on the balcony. It wasn't a stage. It was concrete and wind and an empty glass someone had pretended not to forget. I put my hand on the rail and felt the metal answer. The afternoon stretched like a good chord, tension resolved by attention. When I got home, Alina was in our kitchen in a t-shirt that had surrendered to her shoulder. She smiled without performance. Did the piano behave? It told the truth, I said. She came to me like a person who has chosen her direction. I set my hands on her waist and felt her breathe, not as metaphor, but as proof. We kissed with the care of people who have learned that precision can be a kind of passion. When we finally broke apart, her forehead rested against mine and she whispered, "Thank you for staying long enough to hear the end of the phrase." Later in bed, she sang a line of melody under her breath, no words, just a thread. It didn't need to be a song. It was a note she could hold now because she wasn't holding it alone. I lay there listening, the way I do when a piano has just agreed to be itself, and I thought about how trust is not a fixed pitch. It's a temperament, adjusted daily, responsive to weather and human hands. On a good day, you barely notice the work that went into making everything sound inevitable. On a bad day, you do the work anyway. People still call me to tune their afternoons into something bearable, to make their living rooms sound like decisions they meant to make. I oblige. I measure. I listen. And when I come home, Alina meets me at the door and I put my ear to her laugh the way I might to a resonant note, grateful that the thing I love most is still in tune, even if it needs me to keep it that way.